right, welcome back everyone. Welcome to a new trading week. Happy Sunday. Jeff here with FXMindshift. And today in this video, I'm going to be doing another trade analysis breakdown for you guys. So I got a lot of good feedback from the last couple of videos that I posted with these kinds of breakdowns. So you guys seem to like this content and are getting value from it. So here is another one this week. I'm going to be detailing two specific trades that I took that was responsible for a 10K payout on my Take Profit Trader accounts, which you can see here, right? And I'll be going over, basically the whole breakdown of these two trades that was responsible for this result, and going over the entries, the exits, the setups, everything in between. All right, so let's get right into it here. So the first trade I'm going to go over is one that we took on Wednesday, December 10th. Okay, you can see the screenshot right here of the trade setup, right? The entry, the exit. So let me break this down right now for you guys and show you what this trade was all about. So I've got the bar replay here and on the daily chart, and I've got it rewound back to Tuesday the 9th, so the day before we took that trade. So before you want to take any trade, right, you obviously want to do your top-down analysis, get your direction, get your bias right, so that you can prepare yourself for the setup, right? In this case, as you can see here on the daily chart, NQ was very bullish, right? We had already come down from here, swept out these daily lows, and made a massive retracement back all the way back up here to these highs, right? And it does seem that price was slowing down a little bit, so I was a little bit wary. But of course, there was no evidence yet of price reversing, so I'm still going to be assuming that price is bullish, right? And then going to be looking for price to go higher. So in any situation where I want price to go higher, the first thing that I want to see price do is go lower first, right? Manipulate lower, take some liquidity, and then move higher. So my higher time frame point of interest, was going to be looking for price to sweep out previous day's lows down here, right? And this is the first step in my, trading checklist. If you guys saw my last video on the trading checklist and the 5 steps, this is the first step, right? Determining your higher time frame point of interest, right? If you guys want a copy of the checklist, or you want to know what the checklist is, there's a link below in the description where you can get your copy of the checklist, and you can follow along if you want to, right? And you can also check out the tutorial video that shows you exactly how to use the checklist and what the 5 steps are, right? So this first step here is going to be determining the higher time frame point of interest. In this case, I want to see price sweep out the previous daily low, right? And then the next step obviously is to look for a liquidity sweep, right? Let's go down here to the 4-hour chart. I'm going to kind of look at the 4-hour structure here, because what you can see is we've got this low here is previous daily low, and then we want to see price sweep out the previous daily high, which is this high up here. Okay, so this is my framework for the setup. Essentially, I'm going to be looking for price to do something like this, right? Sweep out the low and then come up and take out that high. Okay, and that's the premise for the setup for the day, right? So now let's go down to the 15-minute chart here. Okay, and what you can see right now, this is also, I want to just kind of play price forward right until before New York open, right? So we can get to the point where we're looking to take the trade. Okay, so this is right here. This is 8:30, right? And we are going to skip forward to about 9:15 or so. Okay, there's 9:30. All right, so here is right before market open. The market opens at 9:30. I'm looking for my setup anytime after 9:30 where I see the manipulation occur, right? Where I see the sweep occur. So this was yesterday's low, right? And so I'm going to be looking for price to sweep out the low and then look for my third step, right? The second step is the sweep of liquidity, right? Third step is to look for a displacement. So if we take a look at price, move it forward, right, and we can see that price does kind of chop around a bit until right there. Okay, we take out the daily low, right, and then immediately see a very strong push back to the upside. Now when we sweep liquidity, I'm going to go down to my 1-minute time frame, which is my entry time frame, and I'm going to look for price to give me those signals, right? So the first thing that we're going to see is a displacement. So what does that mean? A very strong impulsive move away after sweeping liquidity. Okay, and you can see here we have after price comes down, sweeps out the previous day's lows, we have a fast down move and then a fast up move, right? Very sort of like a V shape, right? Down and then up. We have imbalances to the downside here that get inverted to the upside right here. Okay, so that is also part of the next step, which is change of character and inversion, right? This is an inversion. Our change of character is when we have these 3 down close candles here get traded through to the upside. That is a change of character. Okay, and when we have the change of character and the inversion, right, then you can start to look for the entry. Now, the entry can be when price retraces back into the change of character. That's going to be the first point where you could look for an entry. The second point would be after it retraces back into the imbalance or the inversion, right? Or the last one would be to trade back into the order block, right? In this case, this down close candle right here, right? And you can see here that price does come back to the change of character. It does not retest the inversion. It does not retest the order block, right? So the entry that I took was right here as it came back into the order block and as the inversion and the imbalance was created, right? So this was the entry right here, right? My stop was below the low, so we're looking about around 40 points on the stop here. And then just looking to target 2R on this for 80 points, which was right about here, right? At these highs, okay? Just above this high here. And so that was the setup and that was the target. And you can see that obviously it does play out, okay? Because you did see the result already on the screenshot, right? So we did get that result, right? And that was the setup in the entry. This was following the 5-step checklist that I showed you guys last week in my video last week on my checklist, right? So just to go over them, the points one more time. The first was to find a higher time frame point of interest, okay? And that was the previous daily low right here, okay? And watching price come down into that level and then giving us a liquidity sweep on the checklist, okay? And then once price came down here, swept out the lows here, right? And then came back up. That was step 3. Step 3 was a displacement, okay? And we saw price move aggressively away from the zone, okay, with an imbalance, right? So that is displacement. And then the next step is to see a change of character and or an inversion. Sometimes you only get the change of character. You may not get an imbalance to form here, right? But if you do, that's just bonus points, right? And we get inversion. We invert the previous imbalance with a bullish imbalance, okay? And then we also get change of character, right? So that's step 4. And there's also a 5th step in this, which is optional, okay? Which is divergence. All right? Now, if you get divergence, it's just a stronger confirmation, although it's not required. Okay, so if in fact we get divergence at this low, right? Let's pull up the ES chart here and we can take a look and see if we got divergence. And I'm actually going to pull this up on a 5-minute chart here because you can see it a little bit better, but you'll notice here that you can see ES having a higher low on this low right here and NQ having a lower low on this low right here where we did the sweep of liquidity below previous day's lows. So yes, in fact, we do have a divergence here on this setup, which makes this a A+ setup and a much stronger confirmation. You can see right after we get that sweep and we have that divergence, how strong price moves away from that level, giving us that big move to the upside, right? And that resulted in a nice 2-hour trade for about 80 points, okay? Now, let me show you the next trade. Okay, so this next trade was only a couple days later on Friday, and I'll show you the screenshot of the entry and execution right here. Okay, so you can see that was the setup here. This was a 3-hour trade, and this was taken right around noon on Friday, December 12th. Okay, so let's get into the breakdown here. So once again, back on the daily chart, okay, and you can see here this is rebound back to Thursday, the previous day. And you can see, again, really bullish, right? We saw a big move to the downside here, then came all the way back up, right? big bullish pin bar here. So again, the bias is bullish and looking for price to go higher. So again, I'm looking for a point of interest, right? In this case, again, previous day's lows. Okay, if we can get there, to sweep out that level and then to go higher. So again, if I'm looking for price to go higher, I want price to come down lower, manipulate, sweep out some liquidity, and then move higher. All right, let's go down to the 4-hour chart here and let's look at 4-hour structure. Okay, so here essentially again, my target is going to be for price to run out previous day's highs here. Okay, and so again, what I'm looking for is a move down, sweeping out structure, and then moving up to the upside like that. Okay, let's drop down to the 15-minute chart. Okay, and then again, I'm going to play price forward up until right about before 9:30. Okay, so this is about 9:30, and here's yesterday's low. So looking for price to sweep out this level here. Okay, and again, we want to follow the 5 steps of the checklist, right? So the first step we have is our higher time frame point of interest, which is previous day's lows. Okay, that's step 1. Okay, and I'll actually put the steps back up here on the screen here so you guys can remember what they are. So the first one is higher time frame point of interest, right? So our first step here, yesterday's low. All right, second is we want to wait for a liquidity sweep, right? So I'm going to play price forward and looking for liquidity sweep. So there we have a move down and then a move back up here, right? Doesn't quite come back up over yesterday's low. Okay, so let's play price forward a little bit more so we get a bigger displacement. So look, we didn't get that full closure back above here, so that wasn't really a sweep there. Next move down here comes down for, looks like previous week's low, right? And then we get this move down here. Okay, so now we've got a move down. Now we've got to look for our displacement back to the upside. All right, so there we go. We have a move down and then a move back up, back above previous week's low. Okay, so here we are on the 1-minute chart, right? And as you remember, our first step, higher time frame point of interest, which was previous day low, is now the previous week low, right? Because we did not get the confirmation up here. So now we've got previous week low as our higher time frame point of interest. We've got their sweep, and the second step, right, is taken care of. So we got higher time frame point of interest, liquidity sweep. Now we're looking for step 3, which is our displacement. So you can see here, after price sweeps this low, okay, we get a very strong push to the upside here with an inversion and a change of character, right? So change of character, all of the down close candles here traded back to the upside. The inversion being the imbalance, the bearish imbalance here, right, being inverted with this bullish candle here. Now it's not an inversion until this becomes an imbalance, right? So if I gotta go one more candle forward, and then there we go, right? So now we have an imbalance negating this imbalance, and so now we have an inversion. Now we want a change of character, which is the bearish candles being traded above. Okay, so we want to see price go through that candle up, right? You can see here we have a closure right above there, which gives us a bullish change of character. And now for the entry, right, we can look for, oh, I'm sorry, there's actually one more step, right, because we've got divergence here. So let's go over to ES, and let's take a look if we have ES divergence, right? In this case here, you can see we have a low and a lower low on NQ, low and a lower low on ES. So there is no divergence in this case, right? Which is all right. Divergence is just an extra confirmation. It makes it a very strong setup if we have it, but it's okay if we don't. We have the other 4, right? So now what we want to look for is for price to come back to the inversion or the order block, right? So the inversion starts here, and I'll just kind of draw this across. Okay, so essentially I want the trade to come back here around 150. Okay, and then we'll look for a confirmation. So let's see, play price a little bit forward. So see price comes down, trades into it right here. So this right here would be an entry, and then we can look for our stop just below this low here, which is about 40 points. And then the trade was a 3-hour trade, right? And just targeting 3 hour there, so we could look for that high right there as a target to the upside. Okay, so let's say we just target that high right there, and let's play this forward and see what happens. Right, and you can see right there, we get it, right, and a nice 3R exit. All right, so hopefully this video today shows you a little bit more on how to use the checklists and the steps, right, following the steps, so that you make sure that you're taking trades based on sound logic, right, and making sure that following the rules of the checklist gets you in better trades and better positions. All right. Once again, if you want a copy of the checklist, there is a link below in the description that you can get your own copy, right? And you can follow along on these setups with your own setups and make sure that you're taking the right steps to getting high probability trades and entries, right? If you guys enjoyed this video here, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me what you liked about it. Tell me what you want to see. And hopefully I can give you more content like this in the future. All right, that's going to do it for this video for me, guys. Hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your weekend. We'll see you guys on the next video. And until then, good luck with your trades. Feel me. Feel me. Feel me.